Hey Bounce Babes, welcome back to another episode. And welcome back to my channel. Period. Now today we're going to be doing our collaboration with Shay's Way. And if you're new here, this is called Creative Chaos X Looks in the Library, where we do some creative looks while we do a little drinky drink and listen to an audiobook. Now today, this video is going to be brought to you by XXL. This is the peach. I've been trying to get rid of this for mad long, y'all. I'm not gonna hold you. This is Lewks. My favorite one so far is the blackberry one. I've put y'all onto that. That right there, strong as hell. Strong. But still good. It's not bad. It's just, not my fave. But yeah. For this look today, I'm going to be using the Glam Light Rick and Morty palette. I have previewed this palette multiple times now. But y'all about to, y'all gonna get new stuff every single time. It's a new look every single time, right? But I'm gonna introduce you guys to Shay once again, and we're gonna get in tune with the whole story. Now, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and commenting on our videos, so that way we get great feedback from you guys, and also we get to talk to you guys also in regards to the story and everything. Like, let's start a little discourse, okay? Because what y'all thinking? I know I be flabbergasted here, so come on now. But let's get into it.
Hello. Welcome back to Creative Chaos X Looks in the Library. Now, of course you should already be doing this, but if you're not, grab your drinks, gird your loins, because we're finna get into some mess. Are you ready? So am I. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Paste for normal ones. Chapter 1. I touched myself as I sat in my office chair.
Well,
Computer on. Its glow illuminating my trembling body. A body dressed in a radical design's wife beater. Nothing else. My left arm was behind my head.
for your
Legs
drinks.
spread apart, feet on my desk. Head leaning back on the chair. Eyes closed tight. Moaning. Pulling my hair as my fingers played a brilliant song on my sex. I needed orgasm. I jerked, shifted, kicked pages of erotica to the floor. Let my work fall like leaves as I panted. My breathing was so ragged, close to dying 1,000 tiny little deaths. A mirror was on my wall, and I adjusted so I could witness myself pleasuring. Wanted to see me pleasing me. Wanted to become
That's right.
voyeur, obsessed with my own taste. The fire grew. The wetness grew.
I like
but
her.
could not
Whoever
come.
that is, I like that lady.
I shifted and I suffered from severe agitation, continuously tossing and twitching. I wanted to come so badly. I stopped, trying to take control, patting my sex, murmuring incoherently. I murmured as my sense of sound returned, murmured until I heard their voices. Above my head, mounted on the wall, the early morning news was coming on the airwaves, already talking about the non-stop crime in the Atlanta area. Robbers shooting and injuring 3 people at Greenbrier Mall. It was hard to come with talk of brazen holdups and double killings as the background noise.
Because you ain't focused.
It was hard to achieve nirvana when your sense of sound was being flooded with negative images. My sense of sight returned in degrees, this world gradually becoming clearer. Outside my window, there was the morning's glow. The sun was rising like an impending orgasm. On the wall facing me was a framed poster of Anais Nin, the writer I adored. Hair black and pulled back, her dress dark and modest. The phosphorescent hue that defined her complexion, her features the combination of 3 lineages, Spanish, Cuban, and Danish. Her skin powdered, lips the color of my heart. It looked as if she was staring at me. It looked like she was watching me. I closed my eyes. Orgasm evaded me, as if this were a game of hide and seek. I was wet. I was on fire. I needed to come. I left my office, tugging my wife beater over my head. The talk of crimes in Adair Park and Fairburn fading behind me, breathing uneven, dropping my shirt on the floor, legs wobbly and weak. I was as I was when I was born, naked, vulnerable. Flames rising. I staggered up carpeted stairs, looking up as if I were trying to climb to heaven, taking one stair at a time, moving through the dimness of the main floor of my townhome, neck moist, breathing becoming thicker. I stumbled by pictures. So many images from Carnival decorated my walls. My mother and I wearing dramatic outfits made of feathers and tails. Many pictures of us in many outfits over the years, from when I was a child up until last year. Some of them when I was posing with a group of Moko Jumbies. There were photographs I'd taken with mud all over my body as an art form. A teenager with braces looking like Mother Earth. Mud all over my skin, just like I was one of the masqueraders from the launch at San Fernando Hill. The ache was spreading as I went up a second flight of stairs to my master bedroom, body tingling. I stumbled inside my walk-in closet, anxious to get to my black file cabinet, breathing harder as I unlocked my storage unit, pulled out toys, tossing vibrators and Benoit balls to the floor until I found the right stimulator. Hurried to my bed, knocked books off my bed, sent The Witch of Portobello, The Zaire, and Veronica Decides to Die flying to the carpet. Put my literary reading in flight, that desperate act being akin to blasphemy. I spied at my erotic madness, saw myself suffering in the ceiling-to-floor mirror on the right side of the room.
Oh, she freaked out.
Watched my pained expression turn on the stimulator, that humming tingling my hand, saying it missed me. Its love song telling me it wanted to please me. A song of desire that sent its sweet chorus, its harsh and stimulating vibrations moving up my arm. I moaned, swallowed as I crawled on top of the bed, not bothering to pull the covers back. My throbbing was intense, my fire rising. I closed my eyes and spread my legs. I took the vibration to my swollen clit. Electricity coursed through my body, made me tense as I called out to the heavens. The absence of a lover did not move my hormones into a state of hibernation. The absence of a lover did not keep this body from needing to experience a sweet release. I squeezed my breasts with my free hand, pinched my nipples, tried to suck my nipple, but the sensations were too strong. Surges attacked me, but tragedy happened. When I was close to orgasm, the vibrations decreased. The vibrations stuttered.
I hate that for her.
Songs stopped.
That's the biggest crime on this planet.
It whined.
Yo.
The batteries were old. And as if it had a bad heart, my lover was dying.
Ain't nothing worse than a toy dying on you, right? Right. When you needed it to.
Fell in bed. This was frustrating. This was so damn frustrating.
Disrespectful.
I took my tingles to the bathtub, sat on the edge as I filled it with water, added jasmine scents, turned the jets on, eased inside the water, and let the 8 jets send intense streams of water against my body. Each stream a liquid phallus. Put my feet on both sides of the tub, allowed those bursts to flow across my clitoris, eased closer, adjusting until I found the right spot. My spot. Something behind me rattled.
Yeah, what you need,
I
sister?
jumped, opened my eyes in terror, ready to scream. Someone was here with me. Someone was inside my home.
Oh no.
The abrupt sound had come from my bedroom, no more than 5 feet away from my bathtub. It had been a clatter, a brief jangle. I sat frozen where I was, covered in water. This bathtub the womb, and I was as helpless as a child in embryonic state, waiting. Listen.
Alexa, pause. This nigga got away with words.
Shut up. You are so stupid.
Alexa, play.
Invasions, burglaries. The news of all the crimes in the Atlanta area rushed into my mind. Murder, rape. My breathing ceased. Steamed over mirrors surrounded me. The shutters in my bedroom were closed. That part of my home filled with shadows my eyes couldn't penetrate. My cellular hummed. I jerked again, still startled. but relieved. That was the clatter. That was the noise that had delivered me into the mouth of terror. Nervous laughter escaped me as I shook my head, as I felt my heart beating in my throat. The terrifying rattle had been the hum of my cellular against my mahogany nightstand. My fingers eased across my navel, breathing thickening as I squeezed my stomach, as I began massaging my inner thighs, again sliding my fingers between my legs, spreading apart my yoni lips. I was floating, disconnected from my corporeal self. And inside that altered state of consciousness, I wasn't traveling alone. Her spirit was with me. I heard her whispering, her voice serious, her tone warm. There are always in me two women at least. One woman desperate and bewildered, who felt she was drowning. She was here, her Spanish, Cuban, and Danish features so clearer than they were on the image I had of her in my office. A nice Nin smiled at me, her teeth even and beautiful. That evenness so appealing gave her perfection and beauty. Any imperfections she owned were irrelevant, overshadowed by her petite stature and humanness, a humanness that made her glow as if she were my beacon. I reached for her, my eyes telling her that I desperately desired a conversation with her, my pleading face encased in rapture, telling her that I needed to ask her things I knew she'd understand. Anais' specter faded like a Fata Morgana, her soft words remaining, resonating, bringing tears to my eyes as I came, as water splashed, as I writhed, as I experienced an amazing rush of sensations. Breathing labored, I remained where I was, suffering, unable to mollify this desire. Tears trickled down my face because this body would not yield to satisfaction. My home phone began ringing. My sex throbbed, again calling out to my hand, demanding the comfort of my fingers. As the telephone announced that the call was from New York, my fingers took me toward another orgasm. It came so damn fast. My orgasm arrived like a determined storm. I held on, afraid it might sweep me out to sea. As soon as that one finished, another voluptuous orgasm covered me, consumed me, devastated me. Back-to-back orgasms had left me tingling from my forehead to my toes. My cellular hummed again. Again without warning. 1,000 little deaths.
We're just gonna be hearing about her sexual activities at this point.
Maddened me as I
That's
came,
all this last 8 minutes been.
Bone ringing, cellular humming, my moans loud enough to drown all sounds. I came, praying I was done, not knowing
Not praying.
this was only the beginning. Chapter 2. Self-pleasuring was popcorn. My body was telling me it needed steak. Maybe it wasn't normal to need orgasm, to seek orgasm several times a day. Maybe I needed to talk to a professional. Maybe I needed to find a new lover. I didn't have sex a lot, but I had a respectable sex drive. The need to be touched,
Same.
the need to feel stimulation, the need to exist in a state of arousal, the need to have all desires quenched, allow the tension to build up and start all over again. All of that lived in me. I cleansed my clit stimulator, took it back inside my closet.
Clit stimulators are crazy.
Benoit balls, returned all toys to their hiding place. The file cabinet drawer at the back of the walk-in closet. I needed to find an unselfish lover whose strength and desire matched my own. A lover with an open mind. A lover who understood me and allowed me to be me. I was erotic. I was beautiful. I was powerful. I deserved to find pleasure that surpassed my imagination.
Okay, mantra.
Better than any I had experienced.
I feel like me and her are kindred spirits.
Emboldened my sexual
Please.
I didn't want to be with anyone right now. But at the same time, I didn't want to be without passion. I needed to be touched by a man's hands. Feel his weight on me. Feel him sinking inside me. Tingles remained, disturbing me. My vagina was swollen. It seemed as if I was always wet. If I was a man, I would exist in a constant state of erection.
that coochie, baby.
Water dripping from my flesh. A fluffy towel wrapped around my breasts. I crossed into my bedroom, damp feet on soft carpet, and went toward the nightstand. The morning air now cool on my breasts and thighs as I picked up my cellular. I expected to see an early morning text message from my mother, her being up and in the gym at this hour. Even with the 3-hour time difference, wouldn't surprise me. But it wasn't my mother who had disturbed my personal moment. What did I do wrong? Irregardless of what you think, I'm worried about you. Irregardless of what you think, you're the only woman I love. You're the only one. Please call me back. From Logan. The interruption of orgasm had been caused by the man I was trying to forget. The man I wanted to forget about me. Part of my brain began firing like crazy. My frontal polar gyres. The part of my mind that dealt with irritation. I cursed Logan. Months had gone by and Logan still rankled me. He continued to pursue me. Seeing his name always gave me instant regret and overwhelming pain. I went to my home phone, a private number that had been given to a handful of people. Checked my caller ID. Saw my overworked and underpaid New York editor had called. He was in his office early this morning. He was a workaholic like me. I sat down on the carpet, the ends of my hair wet. Moved the towel from my waist and put it under my butt. I put in star 82, the code to unblock my number, followed by his office number, knowing he wanted to talk about the issues with the novel I was rewriting. I shifted gears, closed my eyes on my tingles, on my aching, thought about work. Tried to shift to that frame of mind. Focused on rewriting. With the amount of work I was doing, it was closer to ghostwriting. Notes from Mr. Overworked and Underpaid New York editor said to keep the language from being too deep, keep my vocabulary unchallenging, and do whatever I could to replace sensuality with vulgarity and crassness. I had issues with dumbing down work, for it was through the dumbing down that the writer disrespected herself, disrespected the craft. I did not want to cater to those who were afraid of words, those who embraced ignorance as if it was their favorite religion, as if they had forgotten about those who marched for their physical and intellectual freedoms. All of that was on my mind, but not voiced in the name of professionalism. In his wonderful British accent, he said, "It's not supposed to be Dostoevsky." Dostoevsky? This is below Beetle Bailey. You're brilliant. Work your magic. I should bowdlerize this mess. Let the vulgarity stand, lest the book be reduced to the size of a pamphlet. This prose is handicapped. Painful to read these crippled metaphors without cringing. I told him to strengthen his bloody metaphors. And he asked me what a metaphor was. He laughed. I said, and the way he shifts tense, damn. Has he heard of Elements of Style? He probably thinks Elements of Style is a bloody rap group. We laughed harder. We agreed that true erotica, at its best, was more than sex. It was a study in human behavior, in the complications of existing. It focused on human desire, desires that were being acted upon. He said, "Miss Bijou, you are far from being simple, but keep the changes simple." I know. Leave out the depth. Get to the sex, skip the philosophizing, and get it over. And it needs a better ending. Say what you could suggest. Would be great if he could come up with a sudden or unexpected reversal of circumstances. He's not capable of manufacturing a moving peripeteia. If all else fails for this audience, just have the characters miraculously end up in the same church at the same time singing a Negro spiritual and call it a rap.
I know you lying.
Amen.
The shade is
I don't
crazy.
need to read another horrible Deus Ex Machina ending. Anything but Deus Ex Machina. I'd rather all the characters died in a plane crash before I read another one of those bloody endings. We laughed. On a serious note, my tone now somber, I said, "You ever notice that all the books with women seeking pleasure end in tragedy? Same for the movies, as if it were punishment." He said simply, "I noticed. And you're right. It is punishment for a woman to obtain pleasure. Why? He answered my complicated question by saying one word. Control. Control. Logan wanted to control me. He wanted to bowdlerize my desires and sanctify me. I deleted his message. Needed to get him out of my head. My cellular hummed again. It was a duplicate message from Logan. He had resent the same messages, typographical errors and all. Your, Y-O-U-R, instead of Y-O-U''re. Irregardless instead of regardless. His text messages bothered me as much as his misused words. Both were fingernails across my mental chalkboard. He had driven me to cliches. In my world, cliches were the doorway to madness. When words that were sent electronically upset you, a man had too much fucking power. And giving away that power gave me frustration. And that frustration fostered guilt. I thought that maybe something was wrong with me. If a man who had Logan's credentials, his looks, his unwavering desire for me, if a man like that couldn't please me, something had to be wrong with me. But it wasn't just me. Physical attraction was present, but the chemistry was non-existent. There was more to humanness, more to the inner makings of a person than a fabulous resume. Physical attraction was about aesthetics, not sexual performance, not mental stimulation. Without a mental connection, a remarkable sexual performance yielded no lifelong guarantees. It was only lust, and lust was not love. His sexual performance had been appreciated, but far from awe-inspiring, hardly memorable. His lingam did not fit my yoni the way a key should fit inside a lock. It was just another erection, another hardness made of flesh and blood, a piece of meat that gained girth and length, the part of a man that became engorged when aroused. He could tear down a brick wall with his bare hands, but he could not let loose my heart. His key had rattled inside me, but my heart had not opened for him. He had rattled me then as he was rattling me now. I didn't question my heart. It would be foolish to do so. I only accepted its choices. I had exercised my freedom, acknowledged my needs, and taken on other lovers. Inspired by curiosity and the needs of a woman, I had engaged in zipless affairs. I had had one-night stands, without regret. I had been pleasured by strangers, and I had found that invigorating. I had found that powerful. To be able to have a man, then walk away before emotions took root, that was power. I turned the television on, in search of a much-needed distraction. I tuned to local news. Jules Stewart was reporting. A pastor was shot and killed while selling watermelons out of his pickup truck.
Why watermelon?
Her voice was so strong, so professional. On gigantic billboards placed all over Atlanta, she was promoted as the jewel of the South. She owned the complexion that the powers that be in Hollywood, and men of color, seemed to cherish more than the darkness of the motherland. Some said she had a backside that rivaled both Kim Kardashian's and Beyonce's physical assets. Those were the comments that had been posted in AFC's vent section, not my words, because I couldn't care less. Some had written in she had the blended complexion that made the good old boys in the South and Middle America feel safe. Others had said she was simply beautiful, so stop hating. I agreed with the last group, the ones beyond complexion and racism, another minority group. After reporting that an Atlanta city councilman was proposing a law to ban sagging, a law that would also fine women who went jogging in sports bras or let a little thong show, the jewel of the South moved on to the next matter and said, "And I'm looking for all of my fellow Jamaicans in the ATL." Hearing her mention the largest island in the West Indies borrowed my attention. She said there were so many Jamaicans in Atlanta, she was doing a special report called Atlanta, Georgia, Jamaica's 15th parish. I didn't know she was an island girl. I had read that she had roots in Portland, but I thought that meant Oregon, not Portland Parish in Jamaica. She didn't have any hint of a Jamaican accent, no hint of Jamaican Creole, or Jamaican English, or Rastafarian in her southern accent. In the West Indies, the islanders said the rowdy and violent rebels were kicked off the slave ships in Jamaica, and the non-violent captives remained, were sold as the slave ships moved south. Christian slavers making stops at many of the islands and keys that spread towards South America, selling Africans like they were animals. The last of the human cargo being sold at the last stop down in Trinidad. Jamaica was said to be populated with the spirit of the Caribbeans. Those Indians violent and war-loving, their cannibalistic history hardly discussed. My mother said we were more like the Arawaks, the peaceful and non-violent Indians who had been conquered and slaughtered by the Caribs. With the growing violence in Trinidad, I'd often told her that was debatable. But my mother knew our history better than I did. My mother had worked the sugar fields in Trinidad, had worked sugar fields the same way the people in the southern states had picked cotton. My mother had killed chickens.
Shut up, Jay.
Had cooked those chickens, had milked cows, had done all of that as a little girl and a teenager. My mother came out of the womb working and would probably go into the ground doing the same. My life had been so different from my mother's, and she had wanted it that way. Those were my thoughts as I stood in my bedroom window, pulling my hair back into a ponytail. I smiled at the television, smiled at her lovely face, a woman with roots in the islands. Atlanta's jewel of the South was Jamaican, her history rooted in Caribbeans. Once again, my cellular rang. Again I cursed, this time the ringtone from Sex and the City. I answered, "Cut to the chase, I'm writing. I don't see how you live in the South. Young black men being incarcerated for dating white women. Nooses hanging from trees at schools. It's like going back towards slavery days."
This must be her mother.
It was the
Right.
forever ambitious and hard-working Hazel Tamana Bijou Wilson, the power-hungry woman who used to work at Denzel's Monty Lane Entertainment, then worked with Deborah Martin Chase at Whitney Houston's Brown House Productions, before going over to Will Smith's Overbrook Productions. She's moved on since then. Moved on and was just as famous as any talking head on the lot. She was an NAACP Image Award winner who was spotlighted in Essence and Ebony magazines. She was my mother. I said, "Did I not just tell you I was writing?"
Oh, excuse me.
"But you moved from Southern City to Southern City. Help me understand that, could you please? You want me to come back home that bad, don't you? And damn it, I'll say whatever I have to. Need you here, you're my best friend." "Know what you did, now I'm crying." "Are you really crying?" "Hell no." She laughed. I said, "I have an idea to run by you." "What kind of an idea?" "We'll tell you later. Let me get some work done." "Spill it, what's the idea?" I told her, after I finish my next ghostwriting project, I'm going to start writing my first sci-fi story. "Why sci-fi?" "This project I'm working on, I couldn't tell her what was on my mind. Couldn't tell her that I thought that my work had been affecting me, stirring me. Couldn't say that even though the words were not well written, the images were strong enough to rouse my own imagination, potent enough to make me touch myself, powerful enough to create the need to orgasm, powerful enough to have me stripping away my clothing, touching my longing sex as I hurried upstairs to my bathtub, powerful enough to have me masturbating at sunrise." I looked at the walls in my office. Beyond my images of Anais Nin were framed posters of Hazel Dorothy Scott, the first African-American woman to have her own television show, The Hazel Scott Show, a show they pulled because she publicly opposed McCarthyism and segregation. We shared a common history and the same birthday, so I felt connected, if only by the arrangement of the stars. This powerful need that lived within me, I wondered how much of my angst was driven by my birth sign. In the end, I cleared my throat, ran my fingers over my hair, that sensual twinge remaining. I became the modest daughter, the woman who preferred to remain as close to virginity as she could in her mother's eyes. The offspring of those raised with strong Christian values, religious ideologies forced upon us as a result of slavery and colonialism, and told my mother, "I just need to refocus. Work on something different for a while. It's always good to mix it up." "Good. Dare to be different. Don't become a one-trick pony." We blew each other kisses and hung up at the same time. I wiped my eyes, tears clouding my vision. When she told me I was her best friend, I'd started crying. Not much, just a little emotion seeping out of my soul. She told me she missed me and I was her best friend. That really got to me. Made me laugh a bit. My mother missed me so much she called to cause drama. I missed her too. I couldn't ever live with her again, but I missed her too. If I moved back to LA, I'd go back to living in my mother's shadow. This was the woman who had Hollywood on speed dial. The woman who chatted with A-list and B-list celebrities most of the day. I loved her, would die for her, but I needed my own life, my own successes, my own failures. I remember when I told my mother I wanted to be a writer, and she looked at me as if I was losing my mind. She wanted me to be an actress, a talking head that dramatically regurgitated the words of someone brilliant. But Hollywood has never been kind to brown-skinned women, not the way they've embraced those of mixed heritage. Even before I had that realization, I had no desire to be an actress. I was too stubborn to be forced into someone else's image of me. Never owned the need to live up to someone else's idea of who I should be. I was a writer. I was the type of writer I wanted to be. Not a Hollywood writer whose words were taken into that television and movie factory, cut and modified until the original idea resembled the final product as much as the Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 resembled the Michael Jackson of today. All that to say, I was what I was destined to be at this moment in my life. I looked around me, looked at all of my friends who were in hardback, some in paperback. There were hundreds of books in my office, more books than most people had in their entire homes. The momentary highlight of my bookshelf being my Erica Jong collection, Hillary Rodham Clinton, and more than a few by Anne Rice. A nice dense works for studied over and over, pages dog-eared, words, phrases, so much highlighted in each one. She was honest. She had been daring. Her words made me want to live the opposite of afraid. She had become my obsession, the spirit I saw as if she was alive, knowing she was deceased. She wasn't there, harsh being and nothingness. Imagined reality. The woman destroyed. Memoirs of a dutiful daughter. A vindication of the rights of women. I was surrounded by literature that reminded me I wasn't a deviation from the norm. I had work to do, but my mother's lovely sing-song voice remained in my ear. I put Trinidad on my mind. I went online and read the news from the Trinidad Guardian. Gang leader grew down, shot 20 times over deal gone sour. Cops bracing for reprisals. That slaying was in the Morval Laventille area, where my father was born, where my mother grew up in a shanty town, lived in a shed made of bricks and garbage on the side of a hill in an area that was controlled by gangs. The kind of life she had to get away from. The kind of life that put my father in his grave while my mother was pregnant. His existence ending 2 months before I was born. My mother still had a home in Port of Spain. Imagine, really. She called it our roots home. On Lady Chancellor Road. A hill so high that when I climbed to the top, it seemed like I could tiptoe and touch the sun. Ambition born in my blood. I rode as long as I could. My mind's not cooperating this morning. It was like that sometimes. So I remained productive. Used work to distract me from other feelings. From life itself. Part of me still tingled. Part of me still craved. The time had come to feed another addiction. Another craving rooted in pain and pleasure. Another addiction had me fidgety, causing me to shut down and leave my home in a hurry. Pop up on my car, air conditioner on high. An hour later, I exited US Highway 78 at exit 8. Every car and truck on the road had a severe yellow tint. Pollen season. Atlanta's 5th season had arrived and pollen had spread like snow. I was making my way toward Stone Mountain Park. The elderly blue-haired lady in the booth saw the yearly sticker in my window and waved me through. She followed the
They are popping fireworks over here, and it's Tuesday.
Parking lot. That was the starting point of the legendary trail that circled the Granite Mountain.
It's Tuesday the 9th. This don't make no sense.
You didn't care. The heat from my name.
What could we be celebrating?
Would irritate me as I ran.
I see somebody say I'm gonna call the cops.
Was fired, and it held my sweat.
We'll call the cops.
This kind of heat made me want to get it cut boy short. At least cut off 6 inches or more. Have it cut back to shoulder length. I gave up on that idea. Stretched my hamstrings and calf muscles, went to the mile marker at the edge of the lot, and started my timer. I started jogging slow and easy, my iPod on my arm tuned to the Queen of Soca, Alison Hines. The first song in my most played, followed by Tazan Chin's brilliant and powerful reggae, and then one of my favorite songs, Tanya Stevens singing about the streets, the anthem of so many island women. The shade was wonderful. Acres of trees to my left and right. Not many bikers and bladers were whizzing by in their dedicated part of the lane. Old fears came alive. My heart raced, and I slowed down when I saw a loose dog over in the trees. I hated dogs. I was not an animal person. Was bitten by a German Shepherd when I was a kid, maybe 7 years old. So whenever I saw a dog, it triggered that unwanted memory. Other joggers were looking that way. Walkers had stopped and were staring out into the woods. In the woods, a huge white mutt was engaged in copulation with a smaller black dog. The huge white dog put paws around the smaller dog's waist, holding her, pulling her into his humps. Tail wagging, a third dog, that one many shades of brown, stood in line, his pink penis erect, tongue wagging, shifting in his impatience, barking for the other to finish so he could seek his orgasm. It was a season of insatiability. I checked my watch and ran on.
We could have left this out.
Speak up for lost time.
The dog's getting busy too.
The sounds of insects and bugs all around me. Sweat dripping down my back. I ached. Arms low, back straight. I maintained my smooth heel-toe roll. Mile 3. 26 minutes into my workout. Speeding up. Sweat pouring like a waterfall. I was running downhill, coming out of the shade. Stone Mountain Lake to my right. That was when I saw him. He was shirtless, most of his body exposed, his physique beyond pedestrian, beyond ignorable, sweat dripping from his skin like rain, like a Mandingo warrior god who'd risen out of the ocean. He was speeding.
She ain't talking about Logan, girl.
Running uphill as if the battle was happening.
Not like that.
Black running shorts,
Ain't talking
black
about that, man.
socks, black running shoes. That was all he had on. So in my eyes, he was almost naked. His crucial body parts hidden. He was running at an amazing clip, somewhere between 6 and 7 minute miles. I wiped sweat from my eyes, and he came into focus, one that did not negate the first impression. Tight eyes, bronze skin with a brown sugar glow. He was lean, had done so many sit-ups his six-pack had evolved into an 8-pack. We made eye contact. Time slowed down, and the coolest of all throbbing began. Chapter 3. Time elongated. Sound ceased. The world fell away. In my mind, in that moment, we were in a relationship. Muscles.
Now, ma'am.
Released with each stride.
You know what? Manifest. Delusional manifestation.
Wondered how that energy translated into other venues.
As long as you're not a
waist,
loony bin.
Broad shoulders, top of his body a perfect V shape. His chest strong, arms slightly bent, everything so toned. Both of us barely clothed, both of us sweating, both of us living in pain. In that moment, in my mind, we had become lovers. I saw his features, the rise and fall of his chest as he breathed in through his nose, out through his mouth. My breathing pattern was the same. The breathing of true runners. Felt like we were one. Time sped up again. It became as intense as the zenith of an orgasm. We passed each other, now a blur. Both of us enveloped in heat. Dripping sweat, like lovers at the end of erotic violence. The kind I hadn't had in so long. I ran on, ran faster. Became fire moving away from gasoline. Our eye contact had lasted no more than 2 seconds, but it felt like forever. It was powerful. That moment was over. That powerful moment had passed. I glanced back at him, wanted to get that final view as our moment ended. His energies faded. Wanted to catch a parting glimpse of his back, see how it flowed into his backside from this angle. Much to my surprise, he was already looking back at me. He caught me glancing back at him. For a moment, I felt exposed, but I caught him looking back at me too. And he looked back first. He checked his watch and ran on. I checked my watch and picked up my pace, remembering what I had seen. My mind photographic in moments like this. He was stimulating, sensual. Wondered if he would be in the parking lot when I made it back around. Wondered if he was with someone, had someone, or just needed someone to kick it with tonight. I wasn't beyond being with someone who had someone. I wasn't proud of that fact, but it was true. Not many were above operating in that mode.
No, ma'am.
Needs brought out the selfishness in us all.
No.
What had been done to me had been done to others in the name of my own selfish needs. At times, carnal needs were too strong, undeniable. It was harder between sundown and sunrise.
This here, y'all,
I missed lying next to a man at
is a
night,
red flag.
being clean.
Red flag.
Pulling my nipples while I moved my ass into him, feeling him harden as he eased his hand from my breast to my thighs to begin touching my yoni.
Why are you
I was
I don't know why she's calling it that, but hey.
now, Eric
I
Jerome?
hit a section of the course that was next to a park area.
Please.
No trees over the trail. The sun burned down on me as I took the challenging incline that rose up at a heartbreaking angle and became rolling hills between miles 3 and 4. That section had signs telling runners and walkers to remain on the pavement. Two-way traffic was allowed in that section of the 5-mile loop. I thought I saw him again, running the section that forced us to run on sidewalks.
Young man.
Saw him in the distance.
Young man.
No more than an eighth of a mile away, he was racing toward me again. The same shirtless, tight-eyed runner I'd passed not too long ago.
Here it is.
He was still running hard, harder than before. His pace now probably in the low 6s. I slowed down, ready for him to flirt with me. Maybe turn around and run with me, ready for him to chat me up.
Why is this broken?
Nothing was in my nose. My hair pulled back in an awful ponytail. Skin
I'm
so
sad.
thin. Not the best me I could be, but still looking good enough. At least I hoped. We did that brief wave.
I had to buy a new bronzer.
That motion of solidarity.
It's broke.
Then he ran right by me. I glanced back at him. Did to him what men had done to me so often. He didn't look back that time. I had become pedestrian. Rejection humbled my ego. But this wasn't Atlanta after all, where most of the educated, good-looking, and upwardly mobile men were gay. The ones who looked like LL Cool J were more interested in the ones who acted like Little Richard than a heterosexual woman like me. A woman had to entertain lesbians to get a date down here.
Oh my lord.
I heard lesbians treated women better than the men did. Too bad I wasn't in that club. Life goes on. I passed the enormous bas-relief on the north face of the mountain, the largest bas-relief in the world. 3 figures of the Confederate States of America were carved there. Stonewall Jackson, Robert E. Lee, and Jefferson Davis.
Not Robert E. Lee.
Lots of minorities were out here now, but not back in the day of segregated public facilities. This mountain was the site of the founding of the Second Ku Klux Klan back in the early 1900s. And the Klan was involved in the design, financing, and early construction of the monument. I ran by that history, held my pace, and sped by that reminder as fast as I could. Began taking the hill that paralleled the picnic area. That steep hill was the last hill. Kept a decent pace as I pushed myself up that long and steep rise. Embraced the green from mile 4 until the end of the run. My fantasies and I had run the 5-mile loop course that circled that ball of granite. Had made the hilly loop in less than 40 minutes. The humidity made the air so thick it felt like I was inhaling and exhaling through a wet blanket, breathing hard, sweating like I was living in a sauna. I stopped in the main parking lot, long enough to get hydrated. I changed to music on my iPod, put on music by Karina Aisha, would let her reggae and Spanish songs lead me to the next 5 miles. Restarted my watch and started back jogging. Ran the course in the opposite direction, all of the downhill becoming uphill. just kept my pace steady as I ran by the images of former slave owners engraved in the side of the mountain. That last mile being a grueling incline that had me in the kind of pain I loved. At the end of the second 5-mile loop, I stopped my watch. I looked at the time on the stopwatch portion. I cursed, angry at myself for not breaking 40 minutes. Shaking my head, took my iPod off as I went to my car, grabbed a bottled water, hydrated, and headed toward the trail leading up the mountain. I saw the dogs again, running from the woods. The girl dog was running at a decent pace. 2 dogs were behind her, harassing her, pink dicks sticking out of their furry bodies. She looked back, saw they were still chasing, and ran fast, vanished on the other side of the lot. The male dogs never stopped pursuing. She was in heat, her scent leading them wherever she went.
Why do we need to know? No.
I headed across the railroad tracks.
I want to hear this.
Followed people that were walking uphill, over fallen trees, broken ground. Headed up the side of this bitch.
Alright guys, we're having technical difficulties, so this is the end of the episode, unfortunately. But this was a introduction to our new book. So far, I think it's super interesting. The main character, she's interesting. I found some relatable qualities with her. But she's showing me red flags. But we'll see how she gets down later on in the story. This is the final look. If you wanted to know, I have Spike Beauty lip liner on my lips, and I have the LA Colors holographic lip gloss on, and I just put on top of that lip gloss, I put, not this one, sorry, the Kiss New York 24 karat gold lip gloss. Maybelline foundation, Born This Way, Too Faced concealer. I use the Urban Decay setting spray all nighter. And y'all know it's on the eyes. You already seen that. You seen the tea. My lash extensions are actually the lash extensions that I showed y'all in my first video of me applying them myself. This is from Kiss, IMB Kiss as well. And if you guys have any questions or concerns, or y'all just want to talk, pop some good stuff with us, hit the comment section. We'll be happy to have some conversations about everything. But yeah, this is the final look. I hope you guys love it. And you know, we're gonna get it together, you know, because this was supposed to be just a little bit longer. It was almost done, but you know, we just had some problems, but it's fine. See you guys in the next episode. Please like, comment, and subscribe to both me and Shay's channels, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yep. See you later, bran flakes. What a nice cereal box.